I got scared for a second that it just stopped the video entirely.
Okay.
But no, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Thrashers Paradise, as I am joined with a very special guest all the way from Gatineau, Quebec, correct?
Correct.
Correct. I am joined with Topon. He is the guitarist of Fuck the Facts, a grindcore band that has been around since 1998 and are releasing their next album. I practiced saying the name too before I even started the interview. Damn it. Please forgive me if I mispronounce it or say it. I believe it is Planet Noir. Damn, I forget the last part.
You want some help?
Please, thank you.
It's Plain Noir Sar.
Plain Noir Sar. Okay.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, what kind of inspired the album to be called that?
I don't know. Like whenever we make an album, there's rarely a title in mind. It's something that comes pretty late in the game. So when we were getting close to like finishing all the writing for this album, we were kind of looking around for something, and one of the songs is called Plain Noir Sar, and which translates to basically like complete darkness or like total darkness. And we felt like it worked really well with kind of like the vibe of the record, and just kind of where we were at with the band and like I don't know, sometimes there's more thought that goes into these song titles than others, and this one just kind of felt right.
Excellent. That is awesome. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you have been around since 1998. Now, here we are, 2020. Does it get harder or easier to come up and create new material?
I think when we sit down to write, or the band started in 98, or even there's some recordings that are as early as 97, but it wasn't a band yet. It was really just like my own kind of solo recording project that I did on my own. So early 2000 was when the band started happening. So it's always been kind of different. When I did it by myself in the early days, it's a lot. I don't know. It's very different because it's just me, and it's kind of like I'm working just one of my own inspired moments. But then later on, when you're working with other people, you're kind of like as a group, and you gotta feel out everyone's inspiration. And the way we've always worked in a band is that it's always been a collective process. Like a couple of like myself and the drummer are the musicians that have been there the longest. We've been jamming together for about 15 years now. So, we're kind of the ones that always work at, finalizing the process, but all the different members that we've had over the years have all had, their own input into the music we created. And, it's always a different process with different people. And, sometimes things come out easier than others. But that's kind of what makes it exciting and what makes it different. We're not just like, okay, I'm going to write a record, I'm going to sit and lock myself in my room and do it. It's kind of more of an organic process when we come to writing. So basically, I'd answer your question, like it depends. Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not, and like you said, like 98, I've been doing this stuff for, I guess, at least half my life, more than half my life now. And, I went from being like this little punk with no responsibility to like, here I am with like 2 kids and a house and all this, real adult shit going on. So, sometimes all that stuff kind of plays a role in it, but, we're still doing it and we're still writing music and putting out records because we enjoy it. And, that's really what it comes down to. if we didn't, we wouldn't be doing it anymore.
Amazing. And speaking of records, I do have it listed here. You have 7 albums and 6 EPs in the span of 22 years, if my math's correct.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of there's even probably stuff that I don't remember because when I started back in like the late 90s, even early 2000s, and this is like pre-internet thing. So I was doing a lot of tape trading. I was sending stuff to other people all over the place. I'd get flyers, and there'd be like a flyer that's like, hey, you want to be on this compilation, so you send them a song like on a tape, or you send them your tape and you tell them which song. So in those early days there was a lot of compilations, there was a lot of splits and stuff were happening, and I was super motivated about just like being extremely active. Like, it was really my baby, and I was working really hard. So I sent a lot of stuff out to, numerous places. So I know there's like Fuck the Fact songs on some like random split tapes and CDRs and stuff from back in the day that I probably I'm not even aware of. So there's a lot of stuff back there. But more when it became the band, we still always kept up a really consistent output, and it's come to be a lot of releases. Sometimes when I look at it, I'm overwhelmed.
No, I think that's amazing that you have that many releases in 22 years. And I was just listening to the new album, which will be out November 20th, and I think it's absolutely amazing. Just listening to it, it's something completely different from what I've heard from from this year so far.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, for you, what was the main inspiration on your part with this album?
It's so this album, like we took a break for a little bit. Like this is our first full-length album in 5 years. So it's actually, the last time we put out a release was 5 years ago as well. And we took a little bit of a break there. So getting back into it was different, because I spent all that time. So basically, we spent like of the band like 15 years constantly working on music, putting stuff out, and we were constantly on the road touring and playing as many shows as we could. And this was the first time that we had actually kind of like stepped away from that. And then, there wasn't, when we took the break, it wasn't really a plan. Okay, we'll take a break and then we'll get back together. It was just kind of like everyone kind of went their own way. And then after like a year or so, we reconnected and we're like, hey, you want to just start jamming, just see what happens, with no real plan or anything. It was just kind of like, let's jam and, see if we feel like doing it. And like I said, like myself and our drummer, Bill, we've been playing in the band together so long, and just comes really naturally. So it didn't really take a lot for things to just start rolling out again. And it's just I don't know, like we don't really think about it that much when we're writing stuff. Like I know we get the grindcore tag and everything kind of associated with our name, and I'm probably guilty of pushing that even myself. But like honestly, you listen to the album, like you've heard it, it's not a grindcore record. Like I know we put out like the first single and we always get tagged with like grindcore, and I see people be like, that's a cool song, but that's not grindcore. And I'm like, I can totally agree, it's not. But at the end of the day, it's what we feel like doing, and it's what comes naturally to us. So when we're sitting in the jam space and when we're sending stuff back and forth, we're not like, does that have enough blast beats, or is that grindcore enough, or no, we just write, and whatever comes out and feels right is what it's going to be. And I feel like this album probably took on like a bit. I think it's probably a bit slower in like if overall tempo of the album than some of the stuff we've done in the past, and I think it's overall a bit darker as well. But yeah, it's just it's just doing what feels right and not overthinking it. That's kind of been the philosophy of the band since day one. Like I wouldn't be able to keep doing this band if I felt like I was really kind of pigeonholed into doing the same thing over and over again. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with bands that are or comfortable with that, or people that are comfortable with that. But myself, it's always the band evolves and changes the same, like us as individuals, we evolve and change, and we kind of like embrace that. And I think people that enjoy listening to our records, I think they kind of enjoy that evolution, and they enjoy hearing stuff that's maybe a little bit unexpected, and and it's everyone kind of takes it for what it is.
True. Now, in my research, I found that your previous album, Desire Will Rot, which was released in 2015, was nominated for a Juno. Is that correct?
Yeah, that album actually, and as well, we had an album in 2011. Die Miserable was also nominated.
Oh wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. In 2011, that's the first year that they had that category, kind of like the metal hardcore category. Like, there's no way we would be nominated for a Juno if there wasn't that category.
That's awesome that you were able to be part of that first class of nominations for the first year of them presenting that specific award.
Yeah, and it shows you just how, I don't know, I don't want to ruin it for everyone, but mainstream this stuff has become, like death metal is it's underground, but it's not underground like in the same way as it was. Like mainstream media has really grabbed onto this stuff, and the fact that there's a band called Fuck the Facts getting nominated for a Juno playing like extreme metal, and we're not the only one. That shows a lot of how things are changing.
I think it's amazing. Now, the band name alone, I do want to ask this. Do you find is in the beginning, was it kind of hard at first to get on the build with a name like Fuck the Facts?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, like people, I don't know, the name, it's like, yeah, well, when I was 20 years old, it sounded like a great idea. Now, like, at 40 years old, yeah, no, it's probably not the first thing I would name my band, but, I've learned to embrace it. So when the band started, like I said, it started just by myself, and with like the shittiest of gear, just wanting to be involved in the scene. I just wanted to record music and put it out there. I wanted to tape trade. I wanted to be part of what was happening. And yeah, it's like there was no aspirations of being nominated for a Juno or even touring or doing anything. It was just kind of, this is what I'm going to do. And as things progressed, the band started, right? And when the band started, it was like, wow, let's play shows. And then we started playing shows. And then it's like, okay, well, now let's do tours. And we started doing tours. And, eventually we signed with Relapse. And it was like, okay, like, all these things kind of became bigger than I had ever aspired them to do. I didn't start, a fucking grindcore band called Fuck the Facts with these dreams of like playing arenas or having any sort of notoriety, right? I just wanted to be involved in the scene. I just wanted to do stuff. So as like, these things that were like happening that, made us feel like, oh my God, are we like actually a real band? You start to think about it. And there was, like, I remember like in the early 2000s, we had troubles getting booked in some cities because of our name. We'd have people that would book us, but then the venue would find out, and then they'd get so many complaints just about our name that they would cancel the show. And now, it's nothing. It's not a big deal. Like we're not even like, there's tons of bands with the word fuck in their name that are much more popular than us. But back then, yeah, it was difficult. And there was a point I can remember thinking, I was like, wow, is this actually a good idea? Should we change the band name? As we were signing to Relapse, and we were getting to go on tours, like bigger tours, and do all this stuff, I thought about it. And then I'm really glad that we didn't, because I was like, why am I doing this? What's the real reason that I'm playing music and I'm out here? Is it to be a rock star, or is it just to, like, be creative and make art and have fun? And so I'm glad I didn't change the name just to kind of like make it more accessible to certain people, because yeah, is it the best band name in the world? No, definitely not. But it's my band name, and I'm fine to live with that.
Awesome. Now, back to this album. On a quote I read, it said that the album, after listening to it, to the fans, it could have been split up into 3 EPs. Now, what drove the band to pick a full length over 3 EPs?
It was going to be an album, no matter what. I think that's actually Bill, our drummer, who said that, and I can see where he's coming from it. But I'm pretty sure it was always going to be an album. The way we've kind of gone about things for the past few albums, is that we'll just write a whole bunch of material. We'll just sit in our jam space, or we send stuff back and forth, and we just write, until we think we have, and we're ready to like put something out, right? So usually what happens is we'll end up with like a lot of material, and when we're picking stuff to be on the album, it's not necessarily what we think are the strongest songs or the best songs. It's really what kind of like works together as an album. Like I like writing songs and everything, but I love making albums. Like my real like passion is like the whole adventure of listening to something from beginning to end. Like I know that's a bit of a dying art in this day and age, but I think in like the extreme metal scene and what we do, I think that's still appreciated, and that's really what I love doing. So when we're putting together an album, it's like grabbing songs that really work well together and creating a flow that's going to bring a listener to through kind of like all these like hills and valleys, and make it a really good experience. So usually what we've done is we'll put together the album with the songs that we think work best together, and then we have stuff that's left over, and usually from that we have a separate EP. So it's kind of like we end up with a whole bunch of material, and we'll usually have 1 EP's worth and one album. So with this album, we actually ended up using almost all the material that we had written. There was just 3 songs that didn't make it to the actual album, and what we decided to do with those was put them as bonus tracks on all the different physical releases. So the CD has a bonus track that's not available anywhere else. The vinyl has a bonus track that's only on the vinyl, and there's a cassette version that only has a bonus track that's only on the cassette. So yeah, it's a bit of like an artsy fartsy thing there, I'll admit, but kind of like we enjoyed the songs too, and we kind of felt we wanted to put them out there some way, and that was kind of the way we decided to do it. So yeah, I don't know, it's always a bit tricky putting together an album, because you're patching it together, and you like we really want to make it kind of like it's like making a movie, right? There's got to be different scenes that kind of like make people react in different ways. So yeah, but like I said, like that's really an important thing, and I feel this album probably even more so than our previous albums really flows into each other. Like if you listen to the whole thing, there's a few songs that I think if you listen to them on their own, they almost don't totally work. You know, they really have to be heard with like the previous song or what they're going to go into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that. Yeah, no, I. After listening to it, I see what you mean by all of that now, and also to come with the album was a music video for the self-titled track. Now, for you, what was it like to record that music video in this kind of quarantine world?
Yeah, well, we actually did it before. We did it
Oh.
back in yeah, we did it back in November last year. So
Oh.
uh, so we didn't have to worry about that. I had someone else asked me about that too, and I didn't think about it because yeah, it's like there we are, like all as a band doing it. But no, we did it all before, so it wasn't an issue. And you know what? I'm glad we did it before because it would be an issue now.
Mm-hmm.
Because even now, when we were, you know, we had some other stuff scheduled that we wanted to get done for this album, and then it kind of all shit the bed. And now things, oh, I'm sure you're dealing with the same stuff that I'm dealing with, so you know exactly what's going on. It's like, oh, it's getting better. Okay, now it's much worse, you know. And
Yeah.
here where I am, Quebec side, they just kind of did like, you know, the red zone for until the end of the month, you know, so no one's supposed to see it, to see anyone. So, you know, there was a few plans that we had made, but it's like all that stuff's got to be put on hold. So that's life, though.
Yeah, no, yeah, here in Ontario, it's not, it's probably as worse as Quebec.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We've had,
It's not a fun situation. We were
no, it
supposed to go
is.
play Maryland Death Fest in May, uh,
Oh,
but obviously that got totally canceled. And that was a big bummer. So yeah, everything's just kind of on hold in a way. Like, you know, when this kind of hit, we were, like I said, we've actually been working on this album for a bit, and we had stuff planned. So when this all hit, like a lot of the work that I had going on kind of just stopped. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to focus and actually finish this record. So it had its plus side in that respect.
mm-hmm. There, but I guess this kind of makes it easier to lean into this next question. What is it like to be releasing a new album after 5 years of your previous release in this new quarantine world?
The quarantine part kind of sucks. Because we would have loved to, like, you know, schedule like an album release show and stuff. And like I said, you know, hopefully some dates and some shows around the release, and do a lot of things. So I think the timing, you know, it is what it is. Like there's so much uncertainty with what's going on right now that we didn't want to wait for, okay, for when this is all going to be done, because who knows, you know, when this all started back in March, I think everyone was like, okay, you know, maybe 2, 3, 4 months max and we're back to normal. And now it's like, who knows? You know, is it another 4 months or is it another 4 years, right? So
Yeah.
it didn't make sense for us to kind of keep sitting on this album. We wanted to get it out. I think the fact that it's been a while since we put out a release is kind of refreshing, because you know I've been out of it. I've been out of doing all of this stuff for a while, so you know it's fun again to, like, you know, get back into the horse and be like, oh, cool, like, you know, I had interviews and all this like stuff that I kind of didn't have to do for 5 years, and it's new again. So it's fun, and it's, you know, it's exciting. And I think that was the idea when we started jamming again. We started doing this, you know, it wasn't like, let's jam and we're going to put out a record and we're getting the band back together and all this stuff. It was just like, let's jam, let's see what happens, and if it's fun and if it works with, you know, our lives and everything, then we're gonna roll with it. So that's kind of been the game plan now. It's just like, let's do this for fun. And, you know, obviously we take it seriously and want to do it, well, but there's the limits now that we didn't have before. Like I said, we spent 15 years touring in vans, playing like, some of the fucking like, craziest and like shittiest shows ever, and sleeping on people's floors and like eating out of cans and stuff. And it's just like, okay, like this is like continuation of the band, but not with a kind of like do it at all costs sort of mentality anymore.
Yeah. Well, the big question I do have to ask you is, what's next once this album is released for Fuck the Facts?
I want to like I said, hopefully we can play some shows. That would be awesome. But who knows about that? But I think we're just gonna keep writing again. That's as soon as kind of the dust settles from this release. I want to get back. I'm gonna get back, and we're just gonna start writing. Like I don't want it to be another 5 years before we put out another album. I feel since getting back into this and playing again, I feel like a kind of renewed love for what for doing this, and I kind of I'm stoked about music in a way, and it's something that kind of I lost. I think I just from burning out and doing it for so long, but stepping back and coming in with a different perspective, I kind of regain this kind of like passion to do it, and I'd like to keep going with it and do it, but this way, do it in a way that it's like playing by my own rules and not trying to play the rat race of the music scene, because like I don't know, that shouldn't. It's not even just me. Like I see lots of bands. It burns people out, and at the end of the day, you really got to look at your life and what's important. And putting out metal records is great, but there's also a lot more in life that I think is important that sometimes we miss out on.
True enough. Now, Tupon, I have kind of the last question is more of a fun one if you're game for it.
I'll try, yeah.
Oh, sure. Perfect. So we asked this all first-time guest on Thrashers Paradise, and it's just a simple question. Who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God?
I'd say God. Everyone say Lemmy? Like seriously, come on.
Everyone says trick question. Lemmy is God, actually.
Oh, all right. I like Motorhead, but I've played way too much Dungeons and Dragons.
That's all right. Well, Tupon, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on Thrashers Paradise today to talk about the album. Is there anything else you would like to say to the people that are going to be watching this on YouTube?
Yeah, I hope everyone's staying safe and enjoying life, and thank you for taking time out of your schedule to talk to me. Like it's awesome that the the scene is still so supportive of itself, and like people are looking out for each other. So yeah, thank you. Thanks to you and everyone that's been watching this.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure to interview you tonight. And remember, everyone, the brand new Fuck the Facts album comes out November 20th, 2020. So make sure to get all pre-orders in at fuckthefacts.com, correct?
That's right.
Yes. Until next time, everyone, keep on thrashing.